should show it. Yeah. This is a lot of features to it. I'm going to have to look at them. Okay, so let's see. The first step is to do a little bit of research and find some inspiration. Okay, so let's see. The first step is to do a little bit of research and find some inspiration. So let's take a look at some. So let's take a look at, we'll say, some gothic towers. We'll say fantasy art. Gothic towers, dark fantasy. Fantasy art. And get some ideas. So we'll take a look at this first, get some ideas. So this is pretty standard practice. So we'll take a look at this first, get some ideas. Before we get into actually doing any 3D design, hey, welcome to the stream. We'll want to take a look at some inspirational stuff. Taking a look at some different ideas to help kind of, clarify your own. So we have the description here. Let's see. I wrote it out. So Nox Arcanium description, and I'll just read it off. Hello guys, I have a personal project in mind for a while now. I want to create a series of dark fantasy / gothic style structures for a world I will create called Nox Arcanium. When I'm done building the structures, both interior and exterior, I may use Substance Painter to create some high quality textures. I would like to create each one in kitbash style. What that term means in 3D design is creating a series of digital assets that are able to combine and form complex environments or structures. And this should be a lot of fun. So the first part is taking a look at some artwork, getting ideas, inspiration to help visualize things into cohesive objectives. Then kind of plan out the kitbash. The least amount of work possible, but getting nice results. But, streamlining, or that's basically a workflow. That's typically what it's called. Then build each part and create something really cool. So the lore for this place, this first structure, it's called Tower of Ravens. And this is basically the background for it. And I'll read it off. The first idea that I'm really excited about is creating a large tower left abandoned. The lore is that this tower once served as a prison, and inside its walls a lot of torture happened. Over time, angry spirits and dark forces were drawn to the tower, and now it is a cursed place, shunned by the living. None go there anymore. It has been stained by too much horror. The tower stands in disrepair and is slowly crumbling, worn by age, nature, and dark purpose. It has become a haven for evil, and those evils that reside within are reaching out and casting a long shadow across the land. So that's a pretty cool place. It's got some good, lore in there. For starters, gets the right mood going. So as I said, that's our lore so far. And down here, I'll be streaming on Twitch, posting the videos afterwards on, typo. on YouTube, which is where I post my logs after. Typically, it's usually a day or two. Then they go in one of the playlists that's the right one for what I'm doing, whether it's games or design stuff. So, if anyone likes this kind of stuff, they'll be welcome to check them out. There's already a few in there, and I uploaded another one this morning from yesterday from that stream, and that'll be posted at midnight tonight. So my social media links here are also below in the post. If you're interested in world building, 3D design, you're welcome to come join my live streams. This is a original project idea, and I hope you enjoy going on this journey with me. And there's just some disclaimer stuff like 3D Studio Max is made by Autodesk. I put my link tree in there, which has all the links in it. It's just convenient like that. So let's see. All right, now we're going to take a look at some fantasy art. So for anyone also, too, this is standard. That you learn this in our college, everything. You want to look at things to get inspiration. Nothing is created in a vacuum. Nothing. Because I know a lot of times people have some misconceptions about this. But the reality is say you wanted to create an oak tree or a palm tree, guess what you would go look at? Oak trees or palm trees. You're not just making them conjured out of nothing. You want to make them believable. So you would look at what they look like. And that's pretty much the philosophy. It pretty much boils down to that. There's a lot of architecture in the world and a lot of creative stuff, people make. So you get ideas. Every idea that anyone ever does is based on many other things. So again, nothing is ever created in a vacuum. So we have our idea. We're obviously going to be making a very large tower, so it's going to be pretty big. It's not small. It's not like something like this. It's probably more akin to something like this. But I'm thinking not in a circular kind of shape. I kind of like angles for this kind of thing. So I'm almost thinking like something more, if I would say something like that has different architectural aspects, typically done in like a cube form. So that seems about right. So take a look at a couple different things. Like this is pretty. Look at that. That's nice. It's very like a gothic style. However, even though it's nice, and it is very nice, it's not really resonating with me. It's not vibing. Let's see. Now this, I get a good feel for. This is not, however, big enough. However, I feel the style, it's kind of got like that dark gothic, almost like a Soulsborne feel to it. I like that. So I'll take a look at some of these following recommendations here. Ooh, that's a nice library. Something forbidding. Something, this is a haunted place now. It's no one goes there. We have the lore written now, so we want the mood of the place to resonate with the lore so we keep everything on point. So that's pretty interesting right there. However, for the purposes of 3D design, there's not a whole lot of detail that I can see. It's in a distance, kind of. There's mist, there's other things. So I'm not going to really be able to get finer detail inspirations, like around the different towers, the roofing, stuff like that. Because actually, this tower, my approach is going to be to build it top down. I want to build the very top first and then go down with it. Ooh. That's pretty cool. I like that. Oh, and then I think we're hitting on a track here. That's pretty nice. Has detail on it. Here's another thing. We're not doing a clock tower though, so I'm not really gonna something like that. However, I like the way the roofing is. We have like corner points and then a center point. That's pretty nice. I actually was thinking along those lines anyway. That's nice there too. Oh, look at that. That's nice. Look at that detail. And you know what? Looking at that gave me another idea. Because if you look at the things that are like jutting out along, the top on the corners, and a lot of gothic style architecture, in order to have good drainage, they would have these runoff things that they ended up carving into like gargoyle heads, always creepy stuff. And with the open mouths and the water that would collect on the roofs of buildings would run out into them. So you can almost think of them as kind of like they were ancient Gothic style gutters. Just fancy. And give me a second here. Getting a message. Or I thought I was. Okay, I wasn't. Anyway, so let's see. Okay, so I kind of like this part here, and there's a lot of cool detail in there, and I was kind of thinking that the way the corners are, where it has like rounded towers that kind of jut out of a larger square, that's not a bad idea. That would be something that I could kitbash. I might even be able to make a couple varieties, like one variety that has like a cylindrical towers, and then one that might have, squarish towers, and then the kitbash would be that those particular sections could be interchangeable, and that's a pretty cool idea. So that gives me an idea for that. Let's see what else. Yeah, I'm definitely liking that approach. That is a cool tower, but it's too built on a castle kind of setting. Oh, that's pretty interesting. But it's like a castle tower. Ooh. So I'm seeing a kind of a theme here. We have like typically a large either cone or pyramidal or pyramid shaped roof in the center, and then on the corners then we have a smaller cylindrical or squarish one. That's pretty cool. There's a lot of really cool, beautiful art online. So definitely some interesting ideas. Okay, so I think I have a pretty solid idea of what to go for first. So we're going to start this off. And one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to create this block. 50 by 50 by 50 centimeters on X, Y, and Z axis, which is pretty standard. Now, what I want to do, if I go around to each one of these windows and I type 7, like a hotkey, that'll bring up how many polys and vertices are actually in the scene. So that actually can be a good measure. It's good to keep an eye on that. And for our main perspective window here, I want to go with edged faces. It's typically one of my favorites. I typically use edged faces or hidden line for my view. Hidden line will will blend out the colors. It'll turn to grayscale, but it's also easier to keep track of your edges, especially as you start creating more complex shapes. So, but I'm going to use the other one. Use edge faces. This way I can keep track of the color coding more easily. And give me a second here too. And I'll be right with you. Give me a moment. Okay, sorry about that. All right. So, let's plan this out. I gotta conceptualize what I'm gonna do here. And I actually want to double check here. So, these are parameters. Okay. Can convert this into an editable poly. Now, what we'll do is we'll make the initial shape first. You don't really do, and I see a lot of people do this with when they're doing designing, typically when they first start doing it, is they try to put a lot of detail into things right off the bat, and that's not the way to do it. It's a habit that a lot of people form early on, but it's kind of counterproductive. What you really want to do is you want to hammer out your initial shape, get all that stuff figured out, make the changes that you want to change with it, and only after all that is when you would get into creating the detail. So I'm thinking that we're going to have that there, and then we're also going to create a cylinder. We looked at cylinders. Now for this part, it doesn't matter what I make it. The radius, let's see, 50, 100. We'll say radius 200.0. Height, we'll say 50.0. Keeping symmetry. Sides, well, we'll get to that. This will be one height segment. However, for sides, we have some choices. I kind of want to keep, right, from the start, I want this to make sense. So in terms of scaling, I want to think about that. You think about the scale of the bricks, for example, or stone that'll be going into it. You want it to be relatively similar, if not exactly the same, relatively, so that you're kind of keeping things scaled accordingly. Now for cap segments, which would add these across the cap there. By the way, if I do Alt-X, I can, with the selected object, I can make it transparent, so I can double check to make sure that any of the lining here for the vertices and the polys are looking okay. It's one way. Now with the 18 sides, I'm not sure about that. Let's try to make it a little bit more in line with that. So let's turn this up a bit. Closer. Just right. So that looks a little bit more like they're scaled, similar. They would fit together well. And as far as those, I had called it 1, 2, 3, 4. So cap segments. Take a look at the cap segments here, scaling wise. 2 of those. 4, which goes to the count I made. 50, 50. I made it, I was thinking in terms of 50, 100, 50, 100, 200 from center to end. So we have a scaling method that we're working out and keeping with it. So the object will be this would be one of those exterior corner pieces that juts out, kind of like we were looking at in some of the images. Let's see. Try to find a better one that's a little bit more descriptive. So I'll just pull this one up. Like here, these corner towers, which are really, they're an aesthetic in a lot of cases. So that's fine. I have to decide whether I would want that aesthetic to be something that the player could go into or not, or see into. So I have some choices right here. I can make this solid, like it is right now, or I can hollow it out. Not that it would be very large, but I could hollow it out right from the start of this and make it something that's a bit more, like a bit more detailed within the environment. I'm probably leaning towards doing that. I was even thinking I could pop a window somewhere in it, and that would let a little bit more light in. That could catch some cool little effects depending on what else I put in there. So, all right, what I'm going to do here, since we kind of have that figured out, I mean, I'm sold on that. I'm going to convert this to an editable poly. I'm going to take these interior parts, highlight them, I'll take a look over here. Looks good. And I'll delete it. And then what I'll do is I will select this border tool there and there, and I'll bridge that. There's a lot of fantastic tools that make things, a lot easier to do. So then we have a hollowed out piece of a tower there. Now, if I wanted to, say, make this stretch up, I would select on here. I have it on polygon, and then I select all those. This has them all selected now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this on, deselect a bunch of them. I essentially only want the ones on the top there selected. So you see, we have that. And then I'm going to extrude them. Extrusion means it basically is adding another set out for any of the polygon faces that I had selected. I'm going to change the scale because right now it defaults to 10 centimeters. I'm going to go 50. So then we're keeping in line with the same metrics. Now, how tall I want to make it, that's completely up to me. I'm not sure. I can make it as tall as I like. So, if we were to think about this in game terms, if we were to ever throw this into a game, we would want to think about the scaling. And I'm trying to think, I think I have a tool I can import that helps with that. So let me actually take a look. Oh, wait. Very important. Save. To save things. So we started our project here, and it would be a good idea to save it. Just have to find the right folder. I created a folder, Tower of Ravens here. So, yeah. Tower of Ravens. We have 3D Studio Max files. This is like a folder rollout that I typically do for setups. So, I have the main folder, like Nox Arcanium, and this particular project part, one of the building structures, is called Tower of Ravens right there. And inside that, I typically will, depending on what it is, for this particular kind of thing, I would default with these 3 subfolders, the 3D Studio Max files, FBX files, and reference materials. So that's a good way to keep everything together so you understand it and you don't lose track of what you're doing. Organization really pays off. So if I was doing something different, like After Effects or some kind of other project, I would have different things here. But I'll tell you what always stays is the ref materials. Invaluable, really. So we're gonna call this Tower _ of _ Ravens _ 01. And yeah, that's pretty much what we do. It saves, and then we kind of have a good baseline here. right, the tool. Let me look for that real quick. I'm looking at some character model refs. Hmm. Did I call it armature? It's typically called an armature. Honor, sci-fi interior meshes, and props. Hmm. Oh, I thought I had one conveniently placed, but not. Hey, General, how are you doing? How are you? Yeah, I figured I would hop on here and do a little of this. Oh, oh yeah, yeah, nice. Yeah, I appreciate it. Are you having a busy day? Oh, that was one thing. I sent you a friend request on Discord, Jaro. It's from Wicked Horizon. You should probably just see it just so you know who it's from. I wanted to know if you wanted to do a server affiliation. I noticed you have something like that, and I kind of have had that idea too. If you're interested, drop me a message on Discord. Let me know. I don't want you to have to post anything to like uh, like private or whatever on here in a public thing. Cool, cool. Yeah, that would be cool. Because I have a few there, and you guys seem nice and everything, so we're all pretty cool. It's always good to get to know people a little bit first, you know? I haven't had a chance to come by and voice chat with you guys a lot lately. I had that surgery thing. Um, I've been busy myself doing different stuff. I haven't really played a whole bunch of PSO2 lately too because I was recovering. So I kind of missed this entire like update point because I had to deal with the infection that I had, and then, you know, it was rough. So I'm finally just starting to get my energy back this week. So I kind of missed that whole event last week. Just wasn't up to it. And right, oh, you know what I should do? Well, hold on. No, not that. I don't want to click the wrong thing. I should add info about this live stream because I did do a write-up for it. Let me see. Okay, so this doesn't actually let me put a lot of stuff in there. Let's see, 3D modeling, design. Some of these terms on designer. Wait. Autodesk. Let me find the right 3D Studio Max. And okay, that seemed good. 3D Studio Max game design, Nox Arcanium Part 1. Okay, that seems okay. I still have to figure out how to do overlays on OBS to kind of spruce up what the stream thing looks like. So, hey, one thing at a time, right? Or 10 things at a time. So, let's see, back to our tower. So these are going to be tall. It's 4. If a standard character is typically about 6 of these, somewhere between 6 and 7, it's going to need to be a lot taller if we're wanting to make a tower. But we're also making a kitbash. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to do 7 and 8. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another one. So we're going to have this represent a particular piece of the kitbash. So now I'm going to go ahead and create another one of these. But we don't have to worry about everything because we already know the metrics we used. So it's 200. And the height is 50. And if I ever wanted to like double check that, I can take the one I just made, you know, and just take a look at it over on top of the one that I have already. So there's a couple ways I can reposition this too. If I wanted to, I can select the first one. And down here at the bottom, we have the exact coordinates in X, Y, and Z axis. X is minus 0.224. Okay, so the new one, that's the oh, that's the new one, sorry. The old one. So 6.77. All right. So I'm going to highlight. Wait, I'm sorry. I did actually have the right one. So it's minus 0.224. Now I'll pick the other one. Minus 0.224. Perfect. Beautiful. But we still have the other angle. That's the X. We want the Y. Now we also wanted to change the color of this one, so we don't, start seeing the same thing on everything. So the green one, which is the original, I believe at least it should be. Yes. By the way, we have a couple different tools here. I'm not going to go over all of them, of course. Maybe as I use them, I will. As they're relevant. So if I want to select something without having to worry about dragging it, or anything like that, I would just go ahead and use the select object tool. I mean, you can use the move tool as well, but you do run the risk of accidentally, messing with something. So I do try to toggle between these just to save from any unnecessary messy hassle. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and select that. But when I want to see the coordinates clearly, if you look at the bottom at these coordinates, X, Y, Z, when I have the tool here selected, they're kind of, not really very articulate. When I select the move tool, look how it lights up. So then I have the coordinates. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy the Y coordinate for the original piece. And I'm going to select. Oh, wait. I actually want to grab the green one. And then we've stacked these like exactly. Now, as far as X goes, X is the vertical. I'm sorry, excuse me, Z is vertical. So there's a couple ways I can do this for moving things around in 3D. I could manually drag it. So here's an option. I have the move tool selected. I can manually drag stuff. Yeah, it's not a big deal. Let's move that back. I'll actually take the green one and put it up here. That's the new one. So I did move it up, but there are some other ways you can do this too. Like if we're looking to fit things on in an exact way. So we have 50, 100, 50, 100, 50, 100, 50, 100. If I wanted to know the height of the top of this, I can go ahead and flick on the vertex selection, pick a vertex on the top, and it's going to tell me its height, 400, which we knew. So if I want to align these right, I would make this that. Sets it right into place. So, I mean, you have options. Sometimes hands-on is good. Like where if you want to move stuff around directly within the screen, you have the option for that. If you're looking to get precise coordinates, if that's really important for everything, then you would defer to using the X, Y, and Z coordinate mapping here. Find out where you want it to be, and then get it there. So we're going to convert this to an editable poly. and do sort of the same thing that we did with the other one. Flip it over to border tool. Bridge. The reason I'm making this one separate is because of the less is more approach. So here we have one segment of this. I'm not sure. I forget if it's called like a rampart or a parapet or something like that. The piece of the castle or the tower that is extended outward. I'd have to look it up. But that would be a distraction right now. So 50, 100, 50, 100, 50, 100, 50, 100. That's 1, 2, 3, 400. Height. Go here. Going to select just the top. And we have 50. We're going to change this to 50. That's 100, 200, 300, 400. So this one is the same as the one below it. However, this one is the one we're going to put windows in. Ooh, right? Let's see. I want to think about this. Windows. I have a lot of ideas for windows running through my head. So what we'll do is come back to that. We have, the base here. We have one that will put windows like midway through. Maybe here through here. So they're kind of like narrow. Almost like you would see in like a cathedral or something like that. We want that kind of effect. Now, I don't need to keep making other copies of this right now because it's not finished. It's more efficient to make this version, and then if I wanted to double it, making it say twice as high for that part, I would just use the replicated one. And there is the beauty of the kitbash approach. Modular. The pieces fit together. Think, I don't know, Legos, but not exactly. More like prop parts. And that is pretty much kitbashing. The whole idea being is that you really only need to do something once, not a million times over. And we could even make this more simplified as well and maybe we'll do that. Some of the benefits of also making this more simplified than it is right now, texturing. But we don't want to make it too simplified. We want to have some variation. So let's see. What we can do is if we have half of this, then we can make like a intersection piece. And that would work out fine. So I'm going to go ahead so I don't have to replicate windows over and over again. I'm going to get rid of that half. And that's cut it in half. So then we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 pieces on one side. So it's uneven. That's okay. What we'll do is double back. Okay, we'll double back. We want this to be before we turned it into that. Yeah. So 13 is not optimal. It's an odd number. We're getting the line across one side, but not there. If we want to go, size is 26. So what about 27? There, 28. Perfect. Okay, that's a lot better, because then we've got one straight line going this way, one straight line going that way, and we will use this to replace this one on the bottom. And we'll convert this. Editable poly. Select this here. Delete. Select our border tool. Bridge. And now, we'll take that off. Now we'll go ahead and we'll remove half. We'll cap these ends. And this way, we'll only really need to work with one side, which is a lot more optimal. If we wanted to, we could even take it a step further for kit bashing. We could take this one side and reduce it into a quarter. Oops. No. Orthographic. We want top view. And yeah, angle snap. Angle snap tool. Very useful. Instead of moving at random intervals along an axis, which will give you all in between numbers, angle snap will do it in I have mine set up to do it in 5s. So if I go rotate something, it'll go 5, 10, 15, 20. You know, it's a little bit easier to deal with than if it were to go with every in-between number. But I will set it back there. So the question being, do I want to do this in a half or a quarter? I think what I'll actually do is I'm going to go the full-on kitbash route. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it in quarters. And then we're going to look at this guy here. If I were to look at his Z axis for this vertex, We're at 0.0 on the Z. Now, if we look at this one, we're at 400. So we're going to go 0.0, and this thing's going to drop down. And that's going to be on level with that now. And I'll give you a nice example of the vertex tool. Or I'm sorry, not the vertex tool, the angle snap here. And we have everything centered. So watch, as I rotate it, you see it's moving in intervals of 5. Minus 20 degrees, forward 20 degrees. It's easier to keep track of. So we're going to go and move this thing around to where it's at 225 degrees from its original spot. So it's exactly centered there. Nice. That works out well. And it's okay. Oh, here's another thing too. We have pivot point centers. Now there's other options here, but I don't want things to get confusing. We're just going to leave it on view. You can select different pivot points for your thing, for your move tool. Like for instance there, it'll be sort of down off center. Actually, it's perfectly centered with the original. Hey guys, welcome. Cisco, how are you doing? Since you guys had fun yesterday, I figured I would do a series showing how to build a. Well, I did a write-up for it. It's going to be kind of like a tower, and I would do it from scratch. So then we got, okay, so the pivot tool, or the pivot point. This one, this option here, has it directly centered with the original object mesh and directly in the center. We can change that to be more specific, nearer to the particular object that's changed. So it's an adjusted pivot point. And we can also change the pivot point to off center. For this particular thing, I am actually going to go here. I want to be close up on it. Sometimes can run into issues with this, but it depends on what you're doing. So keeping in mind with like the thing we're making here, I'm going to go with something like this. So thinking this is a good measure. I'm going to actually look up what those are called. I kind of want to know what the actual name is, like in architecture, for those little smaller rounded areas that are like off of a tower. I'm going to see what Google tells me. What are the smaller tower corner sections called? Okay, so look at this here. This is interesting. So we have a full tower. There's something like a pyramid, a spire. Let's see what this is. Thin tapering top of a church or a tower. Okay, so the center piece of our object, when we're done with it, we would name spire. But this isn't totally helpful. We're going to say tower corner sections. What are smaller tower? I'll say gothic. Okay, so this is interesting here. So, according to this piece of this architectural form here, this piece that like we're building here is called a flying buttress. And then the top, which will be the tippity top part, is called the pinnacle. So flying buttress and pinnacle. B-U-T-R-E-S-S. Okay. Flying buttress A. So that's actually good to know. A useful thing here. In fact, I'm going to save this because it has the architectural technical names for some of these sections when you're building sort of like a Gothic style church or tower or castle. And these are directly real architectural terminologies. That is actually really useful. So I'm going to use this as a reference for the names since it has that real world information on it. Tower ref section names A. We'll save that. And I'll move it later. So actually, you know, it's really good if you're doing stuff, if you're building something unfamiliar. There's a wealth of information you can look up online. Now, this is interesting too because in a lot of Soulsborne games, you see this kind of architecture like here. It looks very familiar from different places. And in this particular type of top area is called pinnacle. And that's different than, say, the section below it here, which would be called a flying buttress. That's pretty interesting if you like architectural design. And there's some beautiful examples in real life of architectural design like that. Look at that. I mean, look at the detail that the artisans put into this when they built it. It's amazing. When you think of some of the stuff that's built out there, this is the stuff that inspires games, you know? Like here, Italy, Milan, the Cathedral, Flying Buttresses, and Spires, Geographic Image Collection. And this is DePaul University Library Digital Collections. Okay, so that's what this is. But look at that. Beautiful artistry and architectural design. It's amazing. You can really get some amazing inspirations when you think about it. If you've played games like, you know, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, different kind of games like that, and other ones too, like The Last Faith, you can tell where they got their inspirations from. They got their inspirations from real world art or real world architecture. You know, that's how you do this stuff. You look it up to find out how it's made. This is really beautiful too. And a lot of this stuff you've seen in games before, like similar enough. And that's where the ideas come from. Beautiful stuff. And it all starts like this. Are you making donuts tonight, Cisco? me take this over here. Sorry. Twitch was asking me to do something. So now that I know that these are, I believe it's spires. Pinnacle. So I want to look up something more specific. I look up gothic style rounded pinnacles. So I can look up some different examples. You have different styles of them. This is nice, but it's not what I'm looking to go with. I had a different kind of idea. These are all really beautiful, but there's something kind of specific I'm looking to. Ooh, look at that arch. Nice. Gothic style rounded pinnacles with windows. Let me see that. Oh wait, I had the flying buttress thing named wrong. So it really is, okay, that's a pinnacle. Pinnacle A. Okay. I could say pinnacle base. But what I'm really looking to see is an example, like this. So mine is going to be a bit more rounded than that. But we can look up a ton of different examples online, and get plenty of search. So this part here, we have spire, and it looks like the spire accounts for a good portion of this. So we'll divide the spire, we'll break it up into segments. And do it that way. So pinnacle and spire. Flying buttress, let's see what we got here. We've got flying buttresses, number 1. That's these that connect this way. We have buttresses, 2. The things they connect into. Tracery, 3. Over here. Gargoyles, 4. 5 is gablet. That's this piece there. 6, pinnacle. And 7, rose window. So this entire piece is pinnacle. Except in some cases, this very top part, which would be the roofing section, would be considered the spire. So we have pinnacle and spire. So this is the pinnacle we're making. And I'm going to actually add that into the notes here. So we're looking at making pinnacles and spires. So I'm probably going to do is I'm going to save the progress there. And then pick this up, let's say maybe tomorrow. And then we'll start building the pinnacle and the spire. So we did our research. We got a look at some different examples, plenty of stuff to, kind of feed the imagination. And then we'll carry on with it and start actually building the pinnacle part. We'll see if we get to the spire part tomorrow. We'll see. You can't rush this stuff, so we want to make sure we take our time with it and do it well. But now we have direction, and that's good. So I will say thank you guys for visiting the stream, and we'll carry on with it tomorrow. And you have a good day.